We're only a few days removed from before the Clemson, Tennessee game, Orange Bowl on Friday in Miami. Hey, I'm Brian Knight. I'm not Bobby Durkins. Okay, I am Bobby Durkins. I'm just not Bobby Durkins right here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're brand new here, hit the subscribe button. I have 3 reasons why. First, it's free. Second, it's free. And third, it is free. So for even all you cheapskates, it is free. You can also hit the thumbs up. That helps the channel out, and hit the notifications because, believe it or not, it notifies you when I go live. So the depth chart has been released for both teams. I'm always really hesitant to dive into depth charts until like the day of, because anything can happen. Anything can happen. Somebody can, get off a bus. Someone can be walking down the steps at the hotel, trip, fall, whatever, and suddenly that depth chart projection is worth absolutely nothing. But we do have a really good idea of who's going to be playing this coming Friday, and a lot of people, the closer and closer we get to this game, a lot of people have been commenting some very different angles that I've even encountered in our playoff years. So I'll explain that in just a second. But anyway, we know the players who are going to be missing. We know the players who are not playing in this game. They're big names. On Clemson's side of the football, of course, Trenton Sampson, one of the best linebackers in the country, not playing. Miles Murphy, not playing. On the Tennessee side, Hendon Hooker, Hyatt is not playing. People have come out by the droves to remind me that Tillman not playing is not a big deal because, well, he's been hurt most of the season, so we shouldn't even count that. Technically, yeah, 100%. I get what you're saying, but it's still a big deal. Let's just say this. If Tillman was cleared to play tomorrow, I say tomorrow, but in 2 days, and he was 95%, would that excite you, or would you just say, we're better off without him? I think we know the answer to that question. So I'm going to dive into the depth charts. At this point, it's a closer game. Now, a lot of people believe, and I'm on ESPN. I kind of bounce between ESPN, 247, a few other sites just for information. But according to the analytics matchup, a lot of people believe that Tennessee has a 57% chance of winning this ball game. But the spread has actually moved in Clemson's favor, 4.5 points. 4.5 points is still very little to me. I mean, it just says that it's going to be a good ball game. So, as I'm looking, what's so funny is that if I go to the season leaders, Hendon Hooker's not playing. Uiagalelei is gone, which we needed to start Cade anyway. Hyatt is not playing. It's just interesting to see these leaders on each of the teams. They're not even some of them not even with the team anymore. So it's just interesting just to see that. But let's dive into the depth chart. I'm not going to go over every position. I'm just going to go over really some of the higher points of who's who and who's going to be playing. So, by the way, just want to say hello to a few people who's joined me. Clemson, Carson, Tiger, Nate, Ridge Runner. Thank you so much for jumping in there. Clemson, Carson, I did see where a DB did not practice today, and I was wondering who that was. I just saw that as I was scrolling through the notes, and you said it was Sheridan Jones. That'll be a big loss if Sheridan Jones doesn't play. I mean, because Tennessee's going to throw the football. They have the talent at wide receiver, Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, a few other players. And Tennessee fans has misheard me this entire time. I did not say that Tennessee does not have talent. What I've said is missing Hyatt is a big deal and Hooker is a big deal. Joe Milton has struggled throwing the football accurately against anyone worthwhile. That's what I've said. That's the reason why Hooker playing is a big deal. or Hooker not playing is a big deal. I never said that Tennessee is trash, but for some reason, Tennessee fans, not all of them, the majority of them, it has become very offended by almost every other word that I say. I did not say that you're going to lose this game. I did not say that you didn't deserve to be there. What I said is that with any team, whether they're playing football, whether they're playing baseball, basketball, badminton, when you're missing your best players, I know, it's just like a new thing to consider. But when you're missing two incredibly important players, it does affect your team. Once again, I did not say that Clemson is a lot to win this ball game, because I have some feelings on that a lot of Clemson fans doesn't like. So we'll get into that in just a second. So let's look at this. Let's look at the depth chart for Tennessee as well as Clemson, starting with Tennessee. Joe Milton is going to get the nod, 6'5", 245 pounds. The guy is a freak of an athlete. The problem is he has a very difficult time throwing a touch pass. He has a very difficult time of putting touch basically on a pass. I have said this over and over, folks. It's because I've sat and watched him. I've told you this 100 times. My brother-in-law graduated the University of Tennessee. He watches the University of Tennessee all the flipping time. Watched a lot of games with him. I don't know near as much about Tennessee football as some of you do and as he does, but I do know this. I have watched Joe Milton not once, but several times have someone that was 5 yards from him and him trying to throw a 100-mile-per-hour fastball into their chest, and there's no one around him. There's no one around the wide receiver. There's no reason to throw the ball that doggone hard. And he does it over and over and over and over. I've seen him overthrow wide receivers left and flipping right. I have seen it over and over. And just because he came out and played okay against Vanderbilt, yes, the same Vanderbilt that my 7-year-old could probably beat, just because he came out and played okay versus them, suddenly he's healed. He's delivered. He is just... I am not saying Joe Milton is not going to come out and have a good game. I'm just saying literally the game hinges on Joe Milton for y'all. If Joe Milton comes out and plays well and can control his just God-given nature that he has. I mean, he's a freak athlete. I'm not talking bad about him. I'm saying somebody needs to coach him up. Get that stuff under control, because, I mean, if he starts dialing in with his abilities, my Lord, he's amazing. Did you hear that? I said he could be amazing. It's funny how when you talk to certain fan bases, they don't hear they don't hear the compliments. They don't hear you give compliments. They're just immediately go in with mama hen syndrome. I'm going to take up for my chicks no matter what. And it's like, there's nothing to take up for. It's just the truth. Joe Milton, a lot hinges on him. He's at starting quarterback. Jabari Small, supposedly playing, as long as he's not hurt. Jalen Wright. Jabari Small is a very talented player. Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, wide receivers. Ramel Keaton. I mean, that's a big guy. Of course, Jalen Hyatt is not playing. It's been made very, very clear to me that it doesn't matter if he plays or not. Y'all really didn't even need him. That's what I've been told, basically, is that Jalen Hyatt, you didn't need him. Those 4 touchdowns against Alabama, that anybody could have done that. You don't need him. Let's go over to your defensive side of the ball. Young, Harrison. Young, Terry, Thomas. You have Bumpus, I think is how you pronounce his name, will be playing in this game. Beasley, Mitchell, some talented guys there. Of course, Christian Charles, Kamal Hayden, Tamarian McDonald, D. Williams, Deshaun Rucker, those guys, they'll be playing in as well. Look, Tennessee has talent, especially their front seven is not going to be a walk in the park for Clemson. Okay, I don't believe that's going to be a walk in the park whatsoever. Okay, it really does come down to how well we can throw the ball against y'all, and how much trust is going to be put into Cade. But I don't believe that this is a lock win for Clemson whatsoever. In fact, I really don't know what to think about this team, because if Hooker was playing this game, I would definitely say not putting down on our defense, but more looking at our offense going, we saw Cade have one really, really good game. We've seen him have some really good moments. I just don't trust some of our offensive coaches. I've said this over and over. Somebody came on my board the other day and said something about me not understanding how our offensive coaches could be to blame for some of the issues that Clemson's had. And I'm like, they haven't watched one video I've done. There's no way they've watched one video I've done, or they're deaf. There's one or two options here, or three. Well, I won't go there. One or two I would be nice and go with is either they've never watched the video or they're deaf. Because I have went off on our offensive side of the ball all especially the past 8 or 9 weeks. Let's go to Clemson's depth chart. Clemson's depth chart for this game. Let me see. Everybody, please forgive me for background noise. I've got a bunch of kids here having a little sleepover for my 7-year-old. His birthday was right before Christmas, and then we couldn't get together before Christmas and have all his cousins over. So his cousins are here. In fact, one of my nephew is sitting right here, but we just don't like to put kids on camera because, well, let's just be honest with ourselves. There's a reason Epstein got away with what he got away with. And so we'll leave it at that. So let's dive into Clemson's offensive side of the ball. Cade Klubnik will finally get the nod. Of course, Cade was not a talented football player for most of the season. At least that's what they let leak out from Clemson's coaching staff and media team. They basically questioned if he was coachable. He wasn't throwing the ball well and everything. And then lo and behold, he comes in against North Carolina, and I guess he went to one of those healings or something, and somebody prayed for him, and suddenly he was healed, which we all know that's bull crap. We know that he had the ability the entire time. The coaches just didn't want to start him for what reason or the other. Will Shipley and Phil Maffa will share the running back duties, with Will Shipley getting the starting nod as he should. Antonio Williams, the true freshman that's just been blowing it up. Adam Randall, another true freshman, 6'2", 230, more of a possession guy, but he's definitely has some speed there. Joseph Ngata, senior, 6'3", 215, playing for us as well. Now, if you know very little about our tight end room, then you just a little heads up, we got one of the best tight end rooms in the country, not used as much as they should be. It's ridiculous. I think when someone looks back at the history books and sees that we have Jake Brenningstool and Davis Allen in the same tight end room on the same roster, and they got the ball as little as they did. I know that they've got the ball, but I'm saying as little as they did, they were not utilized more. I think more people will realize that there should have been more of a focus placed on getting the ball to them, because they're really, really good players. Putnam, Mays, McFadden on the line. McFadden, I don't think he's coming back. I think he is. Yeah, I think he was done either way. So anyway, let's move on over to the defensive side of the ball. We got KJ Henry, ridiculous talent. Brian Brisset, Tyler Davis, Rook Horo. I always mess that up. Justin Maskell. Of course, Miles Murphy is not playing. He's declared for the NFL draft. Then we have Wade Woodis, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., incredible football player. Yes, his dad is the Jeremiah Trotter. Barrett Carter. And then, as I just heard in the secondary, Sheridan Jones did not dress out today. Andrew Makuba. For a lot of people who really doesn't know this, if you're a Tennessee fan, you really don't know this as well. our secondary has had problems this year with just staying healthy. We've had issues with being healthy. That's been a big problem that we've had. So we got to look at that. Nate Wiggins really, really grew up this year. Turn into a beast. So I look for a big game out of him. Jalen Phillips at safety. Andrew Makuba, he bounces between strong safety and cornerback. So as I'm going to close this down because I'm just talking depth chart. There's nothing really to talk about. We could talk about offensive performance. We could talk about how Tennessee averages 134 more total yards per game than Clemson. We can talk about that. And maybe we will before the season is over. But what I do want to dive in here and talk about is that closing this down, who is going to really step it up? Will it be Joe Milton? To me, this game really depends on Joe Milton. Because if the guy comes out and he can use his God-given athleticism and he's not trying to throw 100-mile-per-hour darts to a guy that's 3 yards out, y'all stand a great chance of winning the ball game. I'm not taking away from your wide receivers. Your wide receivers can get open, but if he's overthrowing them, folks, it doesn't matter that we're playing in a bowl game. It doesn't matter that you're playing us and you. That's just football. If your receivers are getting open and your quarterback can't get the ball to them, I don't care how good they are. The ball's going to be covered in dirt because that's where he's throwing the ball. He's either overthrowing it, throwing it short, throwing it too hard. I think your wide receivers are going to come in and I think they're going to get some good plays here and there. But, and everybody's talking to me, why are you not talking about our running game? Why are you not talking about our running game? I'm not disrespecting Jabari Small and your running game. I'm not saying that you couldn't take off and have a really good game against us. I'm just saying our strength, especially on defense, is the front seven. Even missing Trenton Simpson is the front seven. Once again, I'm not saying it's not possible. I am saying that is our strength. If I were y'all, I would go after our secondary. Just like with us, I know y'all have a good front seven. Some people came in here and told me you are just totally lost it. It's just like, oh my God. It's not that people don't have thick skin when they start a YouTube channel. It's just when they encounter people who obviously walk into they tune into a video, they listen to about 30 seconds and go, la, 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 la. Now let me type a comment in that basically addresses nothing he said or didn't say. I'm saying Tennessee is a very talented football team. I'm saying I would not be shocked if they won this ball game. I'm not saying it. I'm not disrespecting you. I am telling you, Joe Milton, a lot rides on him getting the ball to your wide receivers. Because if you can't run the ball, if we shut down the run, and we've done that a lot, we've done that to a lot of teams. Very few people has ran on us. Notre Dame did a pretty good job of it. If you go back and watch that Notre Dame game, though, you'll notice that 14 of the 35 points was given up not by the defense. One was given up by DJ, and then there was a blocked punt. Ball bounced one time, defender picks it up, walks into the end zone, literally like 2 yards. He could have fell forward, drunk as a dog, and just somehow managed to hold on to the dog, to the ball like a little dog or something, and he would have fell in. So Notre Dame ran the ball pretty well that night, but Clemson's defense stayed on the field and on the field and on the field and on the field because our offense was absolutely non-existent. They didn't get on the plane in Clemson, South Carolina. Tennessee, everything rides on Joe Milton to me. On Clemson's side of the ball, my question is, will they turn Cade loose? Will they turn him loose? If Clemson comes in and they try to call the same plays they did with DJ, I don't care who you have back there. It's not going to go well. But I will promise you this, and I'm going to end with this. If they allow him to come out and play the game well and turn him loose, and they're not conservative, they just say, hey, man, look, what you did against UNC, that's because we turned you loose. We opened up the playbook, said, hey, man, do your thing. We trust you. We trust your energy. It could be a long day for Tennessee, considering y'all's secondary has had a ton of struggles. Obviously, we've had a lot of struggles too in the secondary as well. So, I mean, I'm not going to be the pot calling the kettle black. I'm just saying I would go after both of them. If I was either offensive coordinator, I would go after our secondaries. I would leave Nate Wiggins alone between you and I. I'd leave him alone because he's matured beyond his years in just like 7 or 8 games. I'd leave him alone. Don't go after him. I'd go after everybody else and see if they're up for the challenge. So anyway, the depth charts, who knows if they'll be the same. As I said, Sheridan Jones, it looks like he's not going to be playing. We don't know. I agree with you, Clemson Carson. If Joe Milton cleans those little things up, he has all the talent in the world. With that said, hopefully it doesn't happen on Friday night. Yeah, I'm with you. Joe Milton is a freak of an athlete. The problem is you have to be able to control your abilities. You don't have to prove to everybody, yeah, man, I can throw the ball really hard. Yeah, we know. We don't need that. We don't need that. We just need you to get the ball accurately to that wide receiver so he can do whatever he needs to do. Dwayne Wicker asked a very good question. I'm a Gamecock fan with a question. Do you think DJ missed having Trevor in his ear? Do you think Cade will miss having DJ in some regard? That's a heck of a question. Thanks for stopping by. If you're not subscribed to this channel, even if you hate my guts, please subscribe. I like that question. That's a very, very good, very, very good question. I will say this. Anytime that you have somebody in your ear who's offering you great advice, I don't care if they're underclassmen, graduate level, whatever, take it. And it can be very valuable. It's very valuable to talk to someone who has been in the same situation that you've been in, and they can offer insight that maybe someone else couldn't understand. And I do agree with that. I think that maybe I do agree with Trevor being in his ear could have definitely helped. And it could, in some form, be encouragement to Cade. But I think that there's a development issue at Clemson. I really believe that DJ going out to Oregon State, working with Jonathan Smith, the head coach, who was a former quarterback at Oregon State in the late 90s, early 2000s, who had success, who can develop quarterbacks. Don't be surprised if DJ, I didn't say he goes and burns the woods up. I'm just saying don't be surprised if he has legitimately improved, because Clemson has a development issue problem right now. And I've talked about this in depth. I've ticked off a lot of Clemson fans. A lot of Clemson fans thinks I've lost it, and that's totally fine. All I've got to ask you is what happened to DJ? What happened to Tyson Pomachi, or however you pronounce his name? What happened to him? What happened to Kelly Bryant? Why couldn't they convince him that the best move would be to move him to tight end or to another position? The guy was talented. You can't tell me you can have, we've got too many talented players on the team. That's the most dumbest thing that I've ever heard. I mean, that's just like stupidity. That's like saying Elvis wasn't famous. I mean, come on, that's just dumb. My thought is there is a development issue at Clemson, and it's heavily in the quarterback room. Trevor Lawrence was no better his last year than he was at the end of his freshman year. He did not progress any more than that. And we can talk about a once-in-a-lifetime talent, which he was. And I'm just saying, isn't it sad that he's having to go to the NFL and having to be developed there more than what he was in 2 prior years? I know someone's going to say, well, it's the NFL. It's a dumb statement. No, maybe I'm not saying this correctly. In his freshman year, he was the best he ever was at Clemson. The next 2 years, it was just like he was there. Yeah, he put up crazy good numbers, but I'm just saying, if you watched him, he did not progress. Why? He was supposed to be developed and developed and developed. He's number 1 pick. Sounds like development to me. Telling you, folks. Just telling you. And we can, listen, we can continue this on and let this run out another 3, 4, 5, 10 years and have to come back to this point that I'm making now, or we could just address it now and not waste more talent. Parker said, Dwayne, DJ was able to watch Trevor and know what needs to be done. Kay was able to watch DJ and know what not to do. Both are good outcomes. Well said. Well said. I know there's a bunch of comments in here, and I'm going to have to go. Katusa 93. Oh, you're so bad for that. Need to tell Milton the first 2 rows in stadium are not eligible receivers. Oh, my God. I've seen him throw some balls. That's like, what is wrong with you, man? It's like, wow, you can throw that far, but you just knocked that old woman into a coma. James Massengale, who says, no bias here, hate both teams, believes Clemson wins 38-17. James, you have much more faith in my Tigers than I do. Not because of talent, but because who's holding the clipboard on the sidelines. Just being honest. I've never doubted the talent at Clemson. I don't doubt all the coaches, but I doubt just enough of them that it shows up in us looking good or looking terrible or just wasting talent. I think one of the worst things you can ever do is waste resources. I relate it to if we were cooking. I like to grill. I'm not some great cook, but can you imagine taking some really, really nice high-end piece of filet mignon and you just cook it until, if you like your steaks well done, that sure thing, I'm not knocking that. But let's just say you just cook it and you turn it into nothing but charcoal. That's what I feel like has been done with some of our talent at Clemson. Between lack of development and then just wasting, it maybe even calling plays that complements their abilities. But that's a drum that I've beat so hard that the head on the drum is just busted. So, well, I'll try to do another video before the Tennessee-Clemson game. Right now, it's a toss-up. I really just think it really does come down to Milton, and it comes down to whether our offensive coaches will allow our Cade Klubnik to do what he needs to do. So, once again, if you like everything that you hear, if you just absolutely hate the look on my face, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Pass this around on your forums. I would like to get this out because I tell you this, I've said this and I'll say it again. I have no allegiance. I mean, obviously I'm biased to these guys, but I have no allegiance to media credentials and saying just the right thing because I could have media credentials revoked. That happens, folks. They do that. You know that. If somebody needs to be asking Dabo Swinney right now, especially if he does if Cade does really good against Tennessee, he has a really good day and he has astronomical numbers. So that'd be 2 games in a row that he had really good outcomes. Someone needs to point blank ask Dabo Swinney after these 2 games, North Carolina in the championship game, and now an Orange Bowl game. So 2 banner games, very well-known games. Can you tell me why you started DJ over Cade? Well, that's in the past and everything. No, don't pull that Mark McGuire stuff with me. Don't pull that Mark McGuire answer when when they were questioning him about steroid usage and stuff. Well, that's in the past and today is today. Oh, isn't that convenient? No. We are asking you this question as a fan base who we're fans, the word fan comes from fanatics. We're asking you, why in Sam Hill did that guy who's blistering it not start? It is what it is. Yeah, Parker, he'll come up with something. Anyway, all right. I hope you have a good rest of the day. Pass this around. And even on a bad day, it's a good day to be a Tiger. Go Tigers. And that's it.